At the eastern edge of Quiet Hollow, where maple trees stood with sleeves of bronze and copper and the road turned to a woolen ribbon of mist, there was a library that breathed in leaves. Every time its door opened, a sigh of pages mingled with the scent of oak dust and cinnamon strings that tied together the smallest books. The windows wore their evening condensation like soft glasses, and behind them glowed a light that felt like a shawl. You arrive in a coat that has kept the day's wind, and you bring with you the faintest clatter of the world outside, lists and screens and the bright clink of busy thought. The brass bell above the door rings once, and then, as if embarrassed to be loud, it rests. Inside, the floorboards offer a low hello. Lamps hum with a patient note. The air is warm, friendly, and thick with gentle stories that don't insist on being told all at once. Rowan, the keeper of the library, is not old and not young, simply the age of someone who has listened a long time. Their sweater is the feel of late September, and the pockets hold a folded map of the village and a handful of acorns. "Welcome," Rowan says, and the way they say it makes your thoughts set down their bags. "We save quiet here. Would you like some?" They set a kettle on a small stove with a crooked chimney. Steam writes a shy poem on the window, and the poem curls into a cloud that looks like a cat rolling over. The tea is apple peel and clove, with a ribbon of honey drifting down like a slow comet. "Sip," Rowan says, and you do, and the warmth walks through you in soft slippers. "Tonight," Rowan continues, "you might borrow our lantern." They bring it out from a cupboard that smells like cedar and sleepy rain. It is not a grand lantern. It is cousin to jam jars and kitchen lamps, with thin ribs of copper and a lid that closes with a little click. This is the lantern of Quiet Hollow. It collects gentle things. Sounds that don't hurry, colors that don't shout, moments that don't ask to be more than themselves. When it is full, it glows like an ember under wool. Carry it, and it will carry you. You hold the lantern while it is still empty. It is light as a breath, cool to the touch, and it gives you the sense of a pocket found in a coat you thought had none. Outside the windows the light has gone blue. Leaves, loosened by patience, are stepping off their branches and landing with the smallest applause. Somewhere a gate knocks softly as if to say, "I am here," and then, "I am still here." The day is pocketing its hands. The village is settling a shawl around its shoulders. "Begin at the front steps," Rowan suggests, pouring a second cup of tea for themselves, "and walk until the lantern hums. It will hum when it finds something it wants to keep. Let it gather. Do not try to name things. Naming can be noisy. Let the evening do the thinking for you. You nod, because nodding is the kind of talk this place prefers, and you button your coat. The bell offers another single, careful note as you step out. The lantern has a handle like a quiet handshake. Its glass shows everything twice. Once outside, once reflected back with a soft blur, as if the world had a twin made of wool. On the library steps, a leaf, the color of old copper pennies, spins as it falls and lands against your shoe, which seems pleased to be chosen. The lantern hums, barely, a moth's thought, and the leaf's hush slides into the glass. The lantern warms. You walk. The street holds your footfalls and returns them smaller, the way a parent repeats a child's words in a whisper to show they've been heard. A cat with white socks sits beneath a lamppost, washing the day from its whiskers. It looks up, and its eyes are 2 sips of tea. The lantern hums again, and the rhythm of the cat's careful paw is kept. Beyond the bakery, where the night baker begins tomorrow with flour in the dark, the window hosts a parade of gentle breads. They are round and patient, and their crusts are stories read aloud to butter. A tired laugh inside the bakery rolls across the counter and rests under the lantern's lid. You feel the weight of the jar change no heavier, just more complete. By the time you reach the green, you have gathered the slow turning of the wind vane, the creak of the bench that forgives all sitters, the whisper of a scarf adjusting itself at someone's throat, the soft conversation between two hands as one pours tea into the other's cup. Your breath has learned the tempo. In for the maple glow. Out for the lantern's hum. In for the faintest bakery cinnamon. Out for the cat's careful paw. The green ends where the river begins, and the river in autumn is a ribbon of melted pewter with a lace edge of foam. It is low from summer's thirst and moves like a thought that is in no hurry to arrive at the end of itself. You stand on the footbridge and the lantern hums long content. The river's whisper, the little clicks of water against stone, the way the wooden planks very quietly tell your feet you are safe, all of it settles into the jar. The glass takes on the soft of the evening, and your shoulders listen and drop their habit of guarding. A pair of geese call overhead, not urgent, not questioning, just a reminder that north is a memory and south is a promise. Their calls are echoes of each other. The lantern keeps one echo. The sky keeps the other. When you return to the library, the bell's third note is almost asleep. Rowan looks at the lantern, looks at you, and smiles as if your face is a page they remember. Good, they say. You have collected enough to soften the edges of your thoughts. They place a woolen blanket across the back of a couch that has learned the shapes of readers. Rest here. If you drift, let the drifting drift you. If a page calls, let it read you. The lantern will stand guard. It hums like a low tide. It hums like the warmth within an apple. You lie down, the blanket remembers and arranges itself, and the couch shares its quiet catalogue of all the naps it has witnessed. The lantern glows, only a firefly's worth, and the glow is clever enough to find your breath and walk alongside it. In for copper leaves, out for kneaded bread, in for river pewter, out for geese threading the seam of sky. The library breathes in leaves. The door rests. The world is welcome to go on without you for a while. And if a thought knocks at the window of your attention, it sees the lantern and decides to come back tomorrow, because tonight belongs to simple things and to the moon, who peers in with a wool cap pulled over one ear and whispers, "Hush." And you do, and you do, and you do. Morning and afternoon pass like a scarf through your hands, one end warm with tea and the other cool with air that smells of wood smoke and the first frost thinking about itself. Evening finds you again, and the lantern sits on the library table like a calm companion. Rowan closes a book without waking it, glances out at the sky, which has put on a sweater the color of quiet plums, and says, "The orchard." You wear the coat that seems to have learned your shape. The lantern, empty again, waits in your palm with the patience of a stone warmed by pockets. You step outside. Shadows are long. Lanterns in windows nod to each other across the lane. Somewhere, someone is stirring a pot with a wooden spoon that has told stories to carrots for 20 years. The orchard lives at the edge of the village where the land tilts its chin toward the hills. Trees stand with open hands, each holding fruit that glows like small moons. The grass is a quilt of old greens and new shadows. The air carries the kind of sweetness that rests at the back of the tongue, nothing sudden, everything kind. Listen for names, Rowan had said. Apples know them. At first you hear the ordinary chorus. A cricket rehearsing its small violin, an owl trying on silence and finding that it fits, a breeze fingering the hems of leaves and deciding to take them dancing. You walk between the rows. Your shoulders remember what they practiced last night and settle. The lantern hums at the sound of the ladder leaning, a hollow wooden syllable that means, I trust the ground. You pause by an apple tree that has practiced generosity so long it is part of its bark. The lantern hums again. It has found the soft thud of a fruit letting go with good manners. The apple lands in grass that has set out a cushion. You pick it up, cool, heavy with its own certainty. You turn it in your hand, and in the turning you hear it, a name. Not spoken out loud, not in any tongue that stretches lips or teeth. More like the way a river knows where to be narrow and where to be wide. The apple knows who will want its taste. The apple knows a story about a market day, a pocket knife, and a grandmother with hands like knitted mittens. The lantern keeps the way the apple said that name without sound. It keeps the hush of the grass making room. It keeps the polite gratitude of the branch, relieved and still proud. Further along, you find the press house. The wheel is old but careful. It turns at a patient speed that makes time rearrange itself so that there is always enough. A cousin to cinnamon is in the air. You watch as juice gathers in a bowl like a small lake that invites the moon to practice her reflection. The lantern hums for the rhythm of pour and pause, and for the way a wooden cup accepts warmth and becomes warmer. On a fence post, a fox has folded itself into a coat the exact color of comfort. It watches you with the acceptance of someone who has decided your presence belongs to the evening. Its tail is a question mark that has already found its answer and is just keeping the shape for beauty. When the fox closes its eyes, you hear another name, the one the field uses for itself when no one is watching, and the lantern catches that too. The syllables of a place feeling at home. And then there is the wind. Slow, with a pocket full of acorn hats, it moves through the orchard like a librarian shelving calm. Leaves let go with thank yous for the season. Somewhere, the smallest gate clicks. Somewhere, a kettle remembers to sing. You stand very still so you can be walked around by gentleness. Your breath attends the ceremony. In for the apple's quiet certainty, out for the wheel's patient turning. In for the fox's soft acceptance, out for the field saying its own name. The path leads to a hill that is a low shoulder for travelers. At the top, the village below has lit its evening freckles, windows and porches and the pool of light that gathers under a street lamp where moths keep their small appointments. From here, quiet hollow is a sleeping cat, curled, content, a tail tucked under. The lantern glows with a thumbprint of warmth. It has gathered enough. You sit on a bench that leans back just so, the exact angle someone once guessed would be kind to ribs. Rowan joins you with 2 steaming cups. The orchard remembers, they say, passing you one. It remembers every hand that reached up gently. It remembers every laugh that didn't try to be more than a laugh. Memory, when it's soft, is the best pillow. The cup's empty. The sky closes its plum sweater and turns to velvet. A shape of geese sews a line from one edge of the dark to the other, and the stitch holds. Your eyes try on closing and find the size is perfect. The hill understands. The bench carries you as if you were a small boat on a low tide. Back to the library, Rowan whispers. The whisper isn't needed. The night is already quiet as a folded letter. You walk, and with each step the lantern keeps safe what the day would crumble, and with each step your breath becomes a quilt. Patches of orchard air, pieces of fox fur patience, strips of river pewter from last night, all sewn together by the sure hand of fatigue that means well. At the library, the bell learns how to be a lullaby. The couch, practical always, has already warmed the place where a body will lie. You set the lantern on a stack of well-behaved books, and it hums in a key that tastes like chamomile. Sleep, Rowan says, the way good weather says it to a pond. And so you slip into the pond of dark, floating on your back, looking up through leaves and small stars. The story continues without telling you everything. That is its kindness. It refuses to be urgent. It waits, and it holds, and it breathes for you when you forget to. Morning lifts a curtain of silver. Afternoon buttons it with sun. Evening unbuttons it again, and you step into the cool hall of autumn night. Rowan stands at the door like a bookmark, keeping your place in the village. Tonight, they say, the bridge. The bridge is not always there. It arrives when fog visits the river with a basket of quiet and lingers to iron the wrinkles out of the day. It is woven from mist and kept together by the small knots of patience that water learns by listening to stone. When you look closely, the bridge is less a thing than a decision the river makes to hold you up for a while. You walk to the bank. The lantern is empty, and its emptiness is a kind of wide room that makes space for gentleness to sit down. Reed tops bow as if welcoming a guest. The first step onto the bridge is as light as changing your mind from hurry to peace. The second step is even lighter. By the third, you have forgotten you are stepping. You are being carried. On the left, a willow practices embroidery on the fog's hem, needle going in and out with each slender branch. Each stitch says, hush, and the lantern hums to keep the stitch song. On the right, the river keeps secrets at the top of its water like a host keeping extra biscuits within reach in case anyone asks. Somewhere out there, fish move like commas, making the sentence of the current easy to read. Halfway across, the lantern warms in your hand without asking to be noticed. You stop and are stopped by the sound of distance folding. It is the cleanest sound, the way a tablecloth breathes when it is laid down with care. Above, the harvest moon stands like a friendly guardian, full of stored light and recipes. She looks down and says nothing because sometimes the right thing is to be here without words. Rowan joins you, not from behind or ahead but from beside, as if the fog had kept a place for them. This is where people set down what they don't need to carry to bed, they say. Gently, so it doesn't wake. Place your worry here. The current knows lullabies for heavy things. You open your hand the way a window opens onto a night that smells like wood smoke, and you place the day there, its corners and angles, its errands that still echo. The river receives each item and gives back its shape in water, softer, then gone. The lantern hums for the not carried, for the relinquished, for the now light. A heron passes with the grave attention of a librarian shelving moonlight. Its wings do not hurry. They move like the pages of a book turned for someone who is almost asleep. The lantern keeps a feather's worth of that rhythm. It glows a little as if pleased to have understood. On the far bank, the path is lined with stones that remember feet and have decided to be kind about it. Each step is a quiet agreement. The lantern's hum becomes a note you almost hear between your breaths. A resting note, the sort that resolves all the traveling that came before. We'll go to the bellfounder's yard, Rowan says. Bells sleep differently in autumn. The yard is a garden of patient metal. Bells rest under canvas like sleeping animals. Even in sleep they contain the shape of sound, the way a shell contains the shape of the sea's conversation. Rowan sets a small bell on a wooden table and, with a velvet mallet, touches it as lightly as someone tapping a shoulder to adjust a blanket. The bell answers with the smallest tone, then the tone answers itself by becoming quieter. Then it keeps becoming quieter until quiet is all there is. The lantern glows with that descent. Your breathing follows, step by small step down the stairway of sound into the warm room below. The walk back feels shorter, as all walks do when they lead toward rest. The bridge agrees to be under your feet again. The moon has climbed into a better chair. A single leaf lands on your shoulder and stays, a very courteous traveler. You bring it to the library, and Rowan places it between the pages of a book that holds autumns from many years. Each pressed leaf a held breath, each held breath a page you can turn without hurry. The library knows your weight now and has made a plan for it. The couch arranges its sigh. The blanket organizes its warmth. The lamp leans into a smaller glow. The lantern sets itself down on the table and hums once, a seal on the night. In, Rowan whispers from the other chair, for the mist's soft thread. Out for the bell's last echo. In for the moon's patient watchfulness. Out for the river keeping your worries for a while. The story waits at the door with a finger to its lips. Your eyes close, and on the inside of your lids you see the map of Quiet Hollow, drawn in leaf light. It is a map of permission. You may rest. You may drift. You may let small, kind things carry you. And the night, which has been practicing, tucks you in. One more evening, and the season has moved a button further along its coat. The air holds a faint silver powder that will soon be frost. Windows glow with the wisdom of soup. Paths remember the exact routes of people bearing blankets to friends. Tonight, Rowan meets you with a basket and a wool hat that has known the shape of their head for years. There is a tree, they say. It keeps the lanterns. The tree is an alder that stands at the far meadow like a quiet singer who prefers to hum. Its branches lift little shelves to the sky. Bits of last year's leaves, thin as distant songs, tremble and do not fall. Beneath it, the ground is soft with the literature of seasons. Stories told in mulch, in stems at rest, in cupped mushrooms that have caught memory like rain. One by one, the village comes in hushes. Shoes that would clack forget to. Voices choose to be hands, gestures, nods, small smiles that pass like lanterns. Everyone carries a jar. Some are clear, some amber, some blue with the riddle of old glass. Inside each, a local quiet hums. The sleep of a dog who trusts the house, the turning of a slow page, the sound of rain considering the roof. Lanterns are not for seeing far, they're for seeing home. Rowan ties a ribbon of soft twine to your handle. The ribbon is the color of hay that has dreamed of winter. Hang it wherever it feels certain, they say. The tree will remember, and if you come back on any night, the lantern will remember you. You look up. The alder has room for everyone. It is a patient host. You reach, and the jar finds its branch. It settles with a small sound that might be thank you. The glow is not more than a candle's good mood. It touches faces as they lift and then lets them be. Around you, other lanterns find their places, a constellation of hearth stars at shoulder height. Rowan speaks softly. Tonight we count the leaves that have already fallen, not with numbers but with breaths. You sit with the others in a circle that understands itself. Breath begins. The first few are breeze. The next few are wind across a quiet lake. After a while, breath is only breath, and that is exactly what it needs to be. The alder keeps watch with the deep attention of something rooted in kind. A child drifts against a parent's shoulder. Someone hands someone a shawl without comment. The grass receives tired ankles. The sky arranges 3 early stars in a shape that looks like a small path across a pillow. Close your eyes, Rowan says, if they wish to close. They do. Behind your eyes, light from the lantern becomes a warm amber sea. It rocks you in a bowl of gentle earth. And then, a ceremony not meant for waking hours. In that amber sea, the things you carried here become boats that do not need to travel. They anchor in soft sand. Crickets sow the edges of the evening. Far off, the bell you heard last night rings in a dream and then keeps ringing even after it has become silence. You feel your body as a very old house that has stood through many weather and knows to be steady. Each room is a muscle. Each window is a joint. The roof is your thinking. The chimney is your breath. Tonight, the house decides to be simple. The windows latch. The curtains lean inward. The roof lets the stars do the staying awake. Down in the kitchen of your belly, a kettle sings once, and then is poured out onto calm. Rowan's voice is a blanket corner, tugged up kindly. In, and you gather leaf light. Out, and you give away noise. In, and you are a hill returning warmth to the sky. Out, and you are a river smoothing the stones it loves. You do not notice when sitting becomes dreaming. You do not notice when dreaming becomes sleeping. You do not notice when sleeping becomes the friendly dark that has no edges, only soft horizons that come near enough to hold you. Later, much later, or perhaps not later at all, the village lifts itself from the meadow like fog from grass. Lanterns are left to burn down into a memory they will keep. You walk back with Rowan through a lane that has learned how to step softly by listening to feet. At the library door, the bell declines to ring. It has become part of your pulse. Inside, the couch is a harbor. The blanket is a tide. You lie down as if you were returning to a place that had been making your bed in your absence. The lantern is not with you. It is in the tree, keeping watch. Yet its hum is with you. Its hum sits in your lungs and hums them into rest. Good night, Rowan says, so quietly that the words land in the room and make no sound at all, only warmth. Outside, the alder holds all the jars, and the village sleeps as if someone had told the world to be gentle, and the world had nodded, and was. And if a leaf falls, it falls into dream, and if a dream walks, it walks on moss, and if your breath pauses, the night remembers to breathe for you until you return. Hush now, hush, sleep.